Ask almost anyone you know if they plan to retire someday, and they will say yes. Of course, that's the plan. Work hard, save money, retire at some reasonable age, enjoy the back half of life. It's the deal most people believe they signed up for the moment they got their first real job. The problem is that for the majority of Americans, that plan is not a plan at all. It is a wish, a vague, unexamined assumption that retirement will somehow happen because it's supposed to happen, because their parents retired, because their coworkers talk about retiring, because society treats it like a natural stage of life that arrives when the time is right. What almost nobody tells you is that retirement in America is not a guarantee. It is not a default outcome of working for more than 40 years. It is a specific financial achievement that requires specific preparation, and the data on how many people are actually on track for that achievement is one of the most uncomfortable things I have ever read. Not because the numbers are surprising exactly, but because the people those numbers describe have no idea they are in them. They are going about their lives assuming retirement is coming, when mathematically for most of them it simply is not. And by the time that becomes undeniable, it will be too late to do much about it. My name is Sig, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, retirement math, and the gap between what people believe about their financial future and what the actual data says is coming for them. If you want an honest conversation about retirement, not the reassuring version, not the one that makes you feel good about doing the minimum, the real version built on real numbers, subscribe to this channel right now and give this video a thumbs up if it changes something about how urgently you think about your financial future. Because what I'm going to show you today is not meant to make you feel hopeless. It is meant to make you feel something most people never feel about retirement until it is far too late. Urgency. Real, actionable, productive urgency. The kind that actually changes what you do next week. Let me give you the data first, because I want everything that follows to land on a foundation of what is actually true rather than what feels true. According to the most recent Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, the median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64, the people who are literally one decade away from traditional retirement age, is approximately $185,000. $185,000, not per person. That is the median household figure for people in their final working decade. Now let's put that number in context. If you retire at 65 with $185,000 and follow the standard 4% withdrawal rule, your portfolio generates $7,400 per year, not per month, per year. $616 per month from 30 to 40 years of working and saving. The average Social Security benefit in 2026 is approximately $19,800 per year. Add that to your portfolio, withdrawal, and the median American approaching retirement is looking at approximately $27,000 per year in total retirement income. $27,000 in 2026. When the average American household spends approximately $67,000 per year. The gap between what the median person approaching retirement has and what retirement actually costs is not a small shortfall. It is a chasm, and the majority of people walking toward that chasm right now believe they are on track. Here is the part that makes this situation genuinely heartbreaking rather than just statistically alarming. The people who are headed toward a retirement they cannot afford are not delusional. They are not ignoring reality. They are working with incomplete information in a system that has never clearly told them what they actually need. Most people's mental model of retirement preparation goes something like this. They are contributing something to their 401k, maybe 4%, maybe 6. Their employer matches some of it. The balance goes up every year. They get a statement quarterly that shows a growing number. It feels like progress. It looks like something is being built. And compared to having nothing, it is progress. But here is the thing nobody clearly explained to them. The contribution rate they chose when they set up their 401k in their 20s was almost certainly not enough to produce a retirement. It was enough to feel like they were doing something. It was enough to take the edge off the guilt of not saving. It was not enough to produce the $1 to $1.5 million that the median American actually needs to retire comfortably without running out of money. The gap between doing something and doing enough is where most people's retirement plans silently fail. Not dramatically, not visibly, quietly, year after year. While the balance grows, just enough to maintain the feeling of progress without ever building the foundation of an actual retirement. Let me be specific about who is actually at risk here, because I think specificity is more useful than generality when the stakes are this high. There are three groups of people who are on track to not retire in any meaningful sense, and together they represent the majority of working Americans. The first group is the people who are not saving at all. According to the Federal Reserve, approximately 28% of American adults have zero retirement savings. Not a small amount, zero. No 401k, no IRA, no investment account of any kind. These are not all low-income people either. A meaningful percentage of people with no retirement savings earn decent incomes but have never prioritized building a retirement account because retirement felt too abstract and distant to compete with present expenses and present desires. For this group, the math is almost brutally simple. $0 invested today becomes $0 at retirement. Compound interest is the most powerful wealth-building force available to regular people, and it requires one thing to work. You have to actually put money in. The second group is the people who are saving but not nearly enough. This is probably the largest group and the most dangerous one because they have just enough savings activity to feel like they are covered without actually being covered. They are contributing 3 or 4% of their income to a 401k. They might have $30,000 or $50,000 saved in their late 30s or early 40s. That feels like real money because it is real money. What it is not is a retirement. At a 4% contribution rate earning 8% annually, a person earning $65,000 who starts at 25 will have approximately $420,000 by 65. The 4% withdrawal rule produces $16,800 per year from that portfolio. Add Social Security, and they are at around $36,000 annually. In a paid-off house in a low-cost area that is survivable. In a rented apartment in a city with a car payment and normal health care costs, it is not. The third group is the people who saved reasonably well for decades and then spent it. The people who cashed out their 401k when they changed jobs in their 30s and paid the penalty and the taxes because the money felt accessible and the need felt immediate. The people who took the home equity loan that never got paid back down. The people who had $200,000 saved at 50 and then went through a divorce, a job loss, a medical event, or simply a decade of insufficient attention and arrived at 60 with 60,000. This group often has the most painful relationship with retirement because they remember a version of their savings that would have been enough and they watched it become something that is not. Let me make this real through one person because I think the statistics become genuinely invisible without a face to attach them to. Meet Dave. Dave is 58 years old. He has worked for 33 years. He has done most things right in a surface-level sense. He has never missed a bill payment. He contributed consistently to his 401k through most of his working years. He owns a home with equity in it. From the outside, Dave looks like someone who has his financial life together. Dave has $94,000 in his 401k. He has $11,000 in a savings account. He owns a home worth $320,000 with $160,000 in equity. His net worth on paper is approximately $265,000. He plans to retire at 65. He is 7 years away. Here is what Dave has not done yet, because it has not felt urgent enough to sit down and actually calculate. At 65 with $94,000 in his $401,000 plus 7 more years of contributions at his current rate of 5%, Dave will have approximately $210,000 in retirement savings. His annual portfolio withdrawal at 4% is $8,400. His estimated Social Security benefit based on his earnings history approximately $22,000. His total annual retirement income will be approximately $30,400. His current annual spending is $56,000. Dave is not going to retire at 65. Not comfortably. Not without selling the house and moving somewhere dramatically cheaper. Not without working part-time until his body or the job market makes that impossible. And Dave has no idea. He feels fine about retirement. He feels like he has been responsible. He is going to walk into 65 genuinely shocked at what his financial reality looks like, and he has 7 years left to do something about it. Here is the exercise that most people avoid doing their entire working lives because doing it means confronting a number that is either reassuring or alarming and neither outcome feels comfortable to invite voluntarily. I want you to actually do this right now or pause the video and do it tonight. Take your current retirement savings balance. Add to it what you will contribute between now and age 65 at your current contribution rate. Use a compound interest calculator. There are free ones everywhere online. And calculate what that amount grows to at 7% annual return by the time you plan to retire. Multiply the results by 0.04. That is your annual retirement income from your portfolio. Now look up your estimated Social Security benefit at saw.gov. Add that to your portfolio income. That is your total projected retirement income. Now write down what you actually spend per year right now. Not what you think you should spend, what you actually spend. Compare the two numbers. If your projected retirement income is meaningfully lower than your current spending, you are not on track for retirement. You are on track for a significant downgrade in your standard of living or a significantly later retirement than you are currently planning for, or both. Most people who do this exercise for the first time in their 50s experience something between shock and grief. Not because the math is cruel, but because the math was always available and nobody made them look at it until there was barely enough time left to change the outcome. Here is something that a surprising number of people are counting on without fully understanding, and it is going to matter enormously to retirement outcomes over the next decade. The Social Security trustees report projects that the program's old age trust fund will be depleted around 2035. What that means in practice is that incoming payroll taxes will cover approximately 77% of scheduled benefits unless Congress acts before then. Now Congress has historically intervened before allowing automatic benefit cuts, and there are proposed solutions being debated. But here is the problem with counting on that intervention. The people who are currently 55 to 65 years old are going to hit retirement age right at the window when this uncertainty is at its peak. The oldest Gen X workers reach full retirement age in 2032, 3 years before the projected depletion. They are going to arrive at the finish line precisely when the finish line is potentially moving. A 23% benefit cut for someone expecting $22,000 per year in Social Security income means for $1,940 less per year for the rest of their retirement. Over a 20-year retirement, that is $98,000 in lifetime income that may not materialize. Building a retirement plan that requires Social Security to pay out at full projected levels is a risk most people have never consciously chosen to take. They are just taking it by default because nobody explained that it existed. Here is something that makes me genuinely angry, and I am going to say it clearly. The default settings on most American 401k plans are not designed to produce a retirement. They are designed to ensure enough participation to satisfy regulatory requirements while minimizing the company's matching contribution costs. When you were hired at your job and you set up your 401k, you were probably defaulted into a contribution rate of 3%, maybe 4. That default was not chosen because 3 or 4% produces a retirement. It was chosen because it is the contribution rate most employees will passively accept without complaint, and it is low enough that it minimizes what the employer has to match. 3% of a $65,000 salary is $1,950 per year going into your retirement account. At 8% annual returns over 40 years, that becomes $520,000. That sounds like a lot until you remember that the 4% rule produces $20,800 per year from that portfolio, and retirement could last 25 to 30 years. You did everything you were asked to do. You signed up for the 401k. You contributed at the default rate. You got the employer match. And you built half of what you actually need because the default was never designed to get you to the finish line. It was designed to get the company to the minimum required level of plan participation. The fix is specific and it requires you to actively change a setting nobody told you needed changing. Your contribution rate needs to be 15% of your gross income to have a reasonable probability of funding a 30-year retirement starting at 65. Not 3%, not 6, 15. If that feels impossible right now, the path is to increase it by 1 to 2% per year through auto escalation, a feature buried in most 401k plan settings. Until you reach the target, you will not feel the annual 1% increase in your paycheck. You will feel the difference it makes in 30 years. Here is a structural change that happened gradually enough that most people absorbed it without fully understanding what they lost. In 1980, approximately 38% of private sector American workers had a defined benefit pension. A pension is a retirement income guarantee. You work for a company for a certain number of years, and when you retire, the company pays you a specific monthly income for the rest of your life regardless of market performance. You cannot outlive it. You cannot accidentally invest it poorly. It just arrives every month until you die. By 2020, that number had fallen to approximately 15% of private sector workers. The pension did not disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because it was expensive for companies to fund, and the 401k offered a politically viable alternative that shifted the retirement risk from the employer to the employee. The 401k is not a worse vehicle than a pension in every way. It is portable. It can grow substantially with good markets. It gives employees control over their investments, but it requires something a pension did not require. It requires the employee to make good decisions consistently for 40 years. It requires sufficient contribution rates. It requires leaving the money invested through market downturns. It requires not cashing it out when changing jobs. It requires understanding compound interest and investment basics that most people were never taught. The pension failed you by disappearing. The 401k fails you when you treat it like a pension, something that will take care of itself, when it is actually something that requires active, informed, sustained management. Most people treat their 401k like a pension. It is not. And the difference between those two approaches is the difference between retiring and not retiring. Let me be direct about what not retiring actually looks like in practice, because I think most people have a vague sense that it would be uncomfortable. Without fully visualizing what their specific life looks like at 72 working a job, they would have retired. From at 65 if the math had worked out differently. You are 70 years old. Your knees hurt consistently. You get tired in ways you did not get tired at 50. The cognitive sharpness you relied on professionally is still there, but it requires more effort to maintain. And you are at work, not because you love what you do, although maybe you do, but because your monthly expenses require your income and your savings cannot cover them without your job. Your Social Security check covers your groceries and your utilities. Your savings account covers your insurance. Your paycheck covers the rent, the car, the healthcare copays, the medications, the things that add up faster in your 70s than you anticipated in your 50s. And every morning you go to work not as a choice, but as a necessity. This is not a hypothetical. This is the described reality of a significant and growing percentage of older Americans. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that labor force participation among Americans aged 65 to 74 has been rising steadily for 20 years. Some of that is by choice. A meaningful portion is by necessity. The people working at 70 because they are not there because they failed at life. They are there because the retirement system they were promised was quietly replaced by a retirement system that required more of them than anyone clearly explained while there was still time to do anything about it. Here is what I need you to take from this video above everything else, because I did not make this video to make you feel defeated. I made it to make you feel the reality of the situation clearly enough that you actually do something different than you were planning to do before you clicked on it. If you are in your 20s, you have something that cannot be bought, borrowed, or recovered once it is gone. Time. Every dollar you invest at 25 has 40 years to compound at 8%. That dollar becomes $21.70 at 65 without you adding another cent. The cost of doing nothing in your 20s is not 4 years of missed savings. It is 4 years of missed compounding on every dollar you ever save afterward. The decision to start investing seriously at 25 versus 29 is worth more money in retirement than most people earn in a year. If you are in your 30s, you still have the most powerful compounding years ahead of you. The habits you establish in the next 5 years will define your retirement outcome more reliably than your income level. If you are in your 40s, you have urgency, but you also have your peak earning years ahead of you. The combination of higher income and aggressive saving can close gaps that feel insurmountable from a distance. If you are in your 50s and the Dave scenario I described earlier felt personally familiar, I need you to understand something specific. You have a compounding window that stays open for approximately 15 more years. 15 years of consistent aggressive saving and investing at peak earnings does not produce the retirement of someone who started at 25, but it produces something dramatically better than the alternative, which is doing nothing because it feels too late. It is never too late to make the gap smaller. Every dollar that goes in today compounds for 15 years before it needs to start coming out. That is not nothing. That is the difference between retiring at 70 on your terms and working at 70 because you have no other option. Let me make this completely practical because a video this direct about a problem this serious owes you a clear path forward and not just a diagnosis. 5 things. Do all of them this week. First, log into your 401k and find your current contribution rate. If it is below 15%, set it as high as you can afford right now and turn on auto escalation to increase it by 1% every January. Second, go to saw.gov and create an account. Look up your estimated Social Security benefit at 62, 67, and 70. These 3 numbers define a meaningful portion of your retirement income, and you should know them now, not at 64. Third, run the actual retirement math I described earlier in this video. Your current balance plus projected contributions plus compound growth equals your portfolio at retirement. Multiply by 4%. Add Social Security. Compare to your current spending. Write the number down. Fourth, if you have a traditional 401k and you expect to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, consider whether converting some of it to Roth makes sense. The Roth grows tax-free and has no required minimum distributions. The tax you pay on conversion today be dramatically less than the tax you would pay on withdrawals in retirement at a higher rate. Fifth, eliminate any high-interest consumer debt you are carrying before increasing investment contributions beyond your employer match. A credit card at 22%, a guaranteed 22% return when you pay it off. No investment comes close to that on a guaranteed basis. Debt elimination is retirement savings with a better guaranteed return. Retirement is not coming for most people because most people are not building it. They are assuming it. They are contributing just enough to feel like they are doing something without ever checking whether what they are doing is enough. They are believing that the system is designed to get them to the finish line when the system was redesigned 30 years ago to require them to get themselves there. The information in this video is not comfortable. It was not supposed to be comfortable. Comfortable information about retirement does not change behavior, and the only thing that changes retirement outcomes is behavior. Specifically, the behavior that happens in the weeks and months and genuinely understands what is actually coming for them if they keep doing what they have been doing. Most people who watch a video like this will feel something for a few hours and then return to their lives without changing anything. I'm telling you that directly because I want you to be the person who does not do that. Not because I will know the difference, because in 30 years you will know the difference. And the version of you at 70 either has options or doesn't based almost entirely on and that the current version of you decides to do before this week is over. The plan that will not exist is the plan you keep meaning to build. The retirement that is actually coming is the one you are actively constructing right now. Those are two different retirements, and only one of them is worth having.